Yes, I haven't experienced sustained full body chills throughout the entire runtime of a movie-going experience, a horror movie-going experience, quite like this in a very long time. I left the theater exhausted, stressed, thirsty. If you know, you know. Hi, my name is Emily or La Movie Mija. I'm a part-time filmmaker, full-time movie lover, and this is my review of Smile 2. This movie activated my adrenaline in such a way where I was like tense the whole movie, and like leaving the theater, my legs felt like jelly because I had just exhausted so much energy in preparing for all of the scares. And let me tell you, as seasoned of a horror movie watcher as I am, I was still not prepared. They were still so effective. I'm afraid we may have ourselves a little Evil Dead 2 situation, you know, in which the sequel, dare I say it, is better than the original. Yeah, I do dare say it. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for checking out my video. I hope you consider liking and subscribing to my channel, where you can expect new movie reviews from me every single week, and sometimes I'll even take you to the movies with me. I wish a splendid spooky season to all who partake. I have definitely been very dedicated to my mostly horror and spooky movie media diet. In the last couple of weeks alone, I've seen nothing but bangers. 100% I would recommend any of the following movies: Death Becomes Her, Little Shop of Horrors, The Ring, Paranormal Activity, Creature from the Black Lagoon, Psycho, Rear Window, and Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed. And now Smile 2. I mean, I'm living the spooky season dream. So let's get into it. About to embark on a new world tour, global pop sensation Skye Riley begins to experience increasingly terrifying and inexplicable events. Overwhelmed by the escalating horrors and pressures of fame, she must face her dark past to regain control of her life before it spirals out of control. Directed by Parker Finn, the film stars NAOMI SCOTT, Kyle Gallner, Lucas Gage, Nicholson, Dylan Gelula, and Rosemarie DeWitt. If you couldn't already tell from my intro, yes, I did like the movie, so much so that after the movie ended, I went to the front desk and asked for one of these posters. I always find it so hard to get the poster at the beginning because, like, one, what if I don't like the movie? And two, what am I supposed to do with this during the movie? Anyway, overall, this film is so much fun and it is so terrifying. And I know horror is all subjective, but for me, this one just really worked. Smile 2 is a sequel to the indie darling that was a smash hit, due in large part to the marketing campaign that led up to its release. I loved that marketing campaign, and the movie itself was also quite good. It wasn't like one of my favorites of the year. I was really on board for the first movie about 80% of the way through, and then once we got to the ending, I wasn't a huge fan of where it all led to and how it all culminated, it being a curse movie. I feel like all the rules were just kind of all over the place, and the final showdown, as I love when movies go to 11, but I still just, it didn't feel like it all came together in the best way for me. But I'm so happy that Parker Finn got to just play in this world again. If you don't know, Parker Finn is the writer-director, and he made the short film Lauren Hasn't Slept, and that film was the inspiration and the impetus for Smile 1, where you have the lead actress from the short film plays that one patient in Smile 1, you know the one. And one of the critiques of Smile 2 is definitely going to be how repetitive some of the same things you see in Smile 1 are. I mean, it's a curse movie that's essentially taking the same curse and implanting it on a new person. We have Skye Riley in this one, played by NAOMI SCOTT. Woo! I'll get to NAOMI SCOTT in a second. But of course, there's going to be a lot of parallels and overlapping things that from the first film carried over to this one. And in this case, I don't hate it. I see this as a strength because I feel like all of those same tactics that are employed in the first one are operating at a higher level in the second. And it really follows through on the rule of sequels, where if you're going to have a sequel, you got to go bigger, you got to go bolder, you got to go out there. And with the added musical element that you have with a pop star like Skye Riley, there's just so much going for this film that really works. And it especially works really well within the context of the themes of the Smile Demon. But let's get back to NAOMI SCOTT because she's phenomenal. I will definitely say that this movie's success is largely due to NAOMI SCOTT. A lot of it is on her shoulders. And yes, it's a good story. Yes, it's a good script. And the direction is beautiful. I thought the cinematography was amazing. But what NAOMI SCOTT brings to this is just elevation. She has that je ne sais quoi. And we know this. Pink Ranger, Princess Jasmine, one of the Charlie's Angels, being able to see her escape her gilded cage. To play this role is just it makes me so happy for her. I'd put this performance up there with the top modern contemporary masterful performances like Lupita Nyong'o in Us, Toni Collette in Hereditary, Mia Goth in Pearl, James McAvoy in Split. She belongs up there with them. This role demands a lot of Scott, and she's just bringing this level of commitment and authenticity that just sears the emotions into my brain. There was a moment in this film that moved me to tears, directly motivated by Scott's performance, and her capacity for emotion is matched only by her physicality. She goes through hell. Not just the character Skye Riley, I'm talking the real person, NAOMI SCOTT. She went through a lot to bring this character to life. It's so physical and brutal, and I imagine taxing as hell. She gives her all and pulls off something so remarkable. Not to mention the added musical element that she also brings. She co-wrote some of the songs. She is performing. She is dancing. There are so many NAOMI SCOTT talents on display, and makes me excited. The pop girls are having a moment. We got Lady Raven and Trap, which I also loved. You can check out my review here. And now we have Skye Riley. I would love to see a Skye Riley Lady Raven crossover. When's a duet? Can they work it out on the remix? As a pop fan myself, I just love the idea that the pop girlies are just having this monumental moment that is permeating not just the music industry, but now like taking over the horror genre. Uber fandom can be seen as a form of torture, like the way that parasocial relationships form and the pressures and the public eye and the scrutiny. And pop artists are just so well suited as subjects for horror movies. So is the movie scary? I briefly want to evaluate the horror movie aspect of the film without giving anything away. In terms of scary level between this movie and its predecessor, I'd say this movie is scarier. And that's because the tactics that writer-director Parker Finn relies heavily on are more refined, and they're operating at a higher effectiveness in this film. Something I love about psychological horror films like Black Swan is the added anxiety of building an unreliable protagonist. Neither the other characters nor the audience is able to trust what they're hearing from them or seeing them go through. And to add to that exponentially horrific scenario, this movie is using all the tools so effectively, from the sound design to the visuals to the jump scares. This movie comes together so nicely. If you are a fan of the way they use sound design in Blink Twice, I think you will be particularly affected by the way they use it in this one. There are callbacks throughout the movie to things that you saw, but you're only hearing them. But that picture is so ingrained in your brain that just hearing those sounds evokes something truly horrific. People are already speculating that this could be the next big horror franchise, and I couldn't agree more. Overall, I think Smile 2 is a solid Halloween weekend movie and one of the best horror films of 2024. Yep, that I'm gonna say it now. And I am so looking forward to watching it in the future, only after I've recovered from watching it this time. Alright, let's talk spoilers. What I find most interesting about Evil Dead 2 is when you watch it right after the first one especially, it just feels like the greatest hits from Evil Dead 1. Like, you took the best parts of Evil Dead 1 and you made them even better for Evil Dead 2. And it's not like a whole new story, but it feels new because of how effective and refined it is the second time around. That's how I feel about Smile 2. There are a lot of the same things that we experienced in the first one. The camera flipping upside down. You got the same kind of like really unhinged, like, where did they think of these things kind of jump scares. You have the paranoia sequences where you find out, oh, that wasn't really happening, that was all in their head. That happens quite a few times, and let me tell you, it never got old. That never got old. It got me every time. I was so arrested in the present that I couldn't even think ahead. I'm telling you, my anxiety up here. So I find it kind of wonderful that Parker Finn, the writer-director, has been able to not only explore this idea of dealing with paranoia and unreliable protagonists and trying to escape this curse with Lauren Hasn't Slept and Smile 1, but he has like essentially a third go around to tackle something like a story that he's trying to tell. So though I do admit to and understand the critique that the film employs all the same tricks and twists from the first film, even the same like rhythm, like you can kind of predict when something's going to go awry. However, I would argue that the synergy of all those elements works so much better this time around, and that's because it blends so well not only the paranoia aspects and the big huge jump scares, but it also does a really good job of like incorporating the character devastation, her core root of who she is and why she is the way that she is. And again, calling back to Black Swan, that idea of having these little ways that she copes with stress that are giving us displays of body horror. And for Skye Riley, it's the act of pulling her hair out. Speaking of hair, I found Skye Riley's hair to be such a cool choice that utilizes some visual language from pop culture to communicate that there's a pop star going through things or someone that's in the public eye. I mean, hair, you think Britney Spears, you think of like when she was going through a very traumatic time in her life and when the paparazzi was absolutely awful. The paparazzi, the public, everybody was absolutely awful to her and villainizing her in a way that only women at that level of fame could experience. And hair carries a lot of memory, so symbolically chopping off all her hair and giving herself this new short bleached do is a way of her trying to let go of her past. It's also a really cool call out to her previous co-star Kristen Stewart's hairstyle that she debuted when trying to distance herself from the Bella Swan time of her career. And from a practical standpoint, it also does so well to effectively communicate when we are traveling back in time and we're seeing old Skye Riley and we're seeing current day Skye Riley. The reason Skye Riley is the perfect host for the Smile Demon is because horror happens to the people who deserve it the least. At this moment in her life, she is haunted by her past, both mentally and physically. She feels guilty for the death of her boyfriend. She is recovering from her alcohol and drug abuse. And she's doing this all in the public eye, raising the stakes of her recovery and her sanity even more. Because the more she tries to pull back away from the center of attention, from the spotlight, the more people are going to speculate and the more she is going to face public backlash. She's being pushed to her limits and preparing for this tour, and every move she makes, there's just so much at stake. And again, I think pop star, pop princess, I'm a millennial, that is Britney Spears to me. I read Britney Spears' biography last year and it absolutely broke my heart. So I have that baggage with me watching Skye Riley, not just in those moments where she's begging her mom for a break because she feels unwell or she feels like she's being pushed too hard, but also in those quiet moments. Those are the moments that really sunk in, where we see her alone in her beautiful, like glamorous apartment with a fantastic view, and she is all alone. That loneliness, that level of despair, that yearning for connection is palpable throughout the entirety of Naomi Scott's performance. The scene that made me cry was seeing her in the car accident aftermath. She's in her seat, she still has her seatbelt on, and she's hanging upside down. And there's a moment where she comes to, and she realizes that her bones are broken in her leg, and she looks over to her boyfriend Paul Hudson and he's dead. And that guttural cry she lets out, and that moment is so critical for her character, because even though the scene comes up halfway through the movie or so chronologically, this is a turning point for her that sets the tone for her entire emotional state for the rest of the film. This scene shows us why she is the way that she is. We are seeing her life be the aftermath of that horrific night. Between that moment and the ending, and meta visual reference by Ray Nicholson in his performance as an homage to his father, Jack Nicholson, in The Shining, him ascending those stairs with that smile brazened across his face. Oh my goodness, it is such a delicious nod to horror cinema history. So that ending, what was real and what wasn't? First, I hate how personal the Smile Demon gets. Saying her worst fears out loud from the people that mean the most to her, and having her backup dancers form like a human kaleidoscope coming down her mirrored hallway. Ooh, chills. I don't know if you can see this, but I have chills. The toxic and creepy fan who acted inappropriately at the signing and then showing up naked in her apartment. The silhouette of him before he chased her. I'm getting so creeped out thinking about it now. So those things weren't real. And it delighted me to no end how well this movie pulled those off. Each fake out, each reveal, they all worked because I was so emotionally invested in Skye. I welcomed the emotional release valve. I was like, please give me a chance to breathe. Tell me this isn't happening. Okay, so those last 20 minutes is where I started to internally slow clap because I thought, oh they're gonna land this plane. To me, the third act begins when she's escaping from the treatment center. And we get that first big blow, the Gemma reveal. Skye gets that call in the car, kind of paralleling the first film's reveal with the therapist. I mean, not kind of, it's like exactly play by play what happens with the therapist. But this one hurts so much more. This one was personal. We didn't really know the therapist like that. But Gemma, that was her best friend that she was trying to make amends with. That was her best friend who told her she forgave her and was there for her when she needed her most. And based on what Gemma is saying on the phone, like the real Gemma on the phone who calls Skye, I'm being led to believe that our Gemma has been the smile demon the entire time. What the fuck? So to recap, the kaleidoscope of human dancers injure Skye Riley in her apartment. She wakes up in the treatment center. She gets into an altercation with her mom, and then she makes an escape of the treatment center. She steals an SUV outside, and Gemma just happens to be outside with coffee. And Skye tells Gemma that they need to go somewhere, and where Skye's trying to go is to meet up with Morris so that he can help reverse the curse. And in that car ride, Gemma reveals that she's been the smile demon the whole time. And Skye Riley takes back the control of reality and becomes the driver in the car seat. So literally and figuratively starts driving the car herself. And Gemma's smile demon disappears. And then we end up at the Pizza Hut where Morris is there and leads her to a freezer where he's going to do the act. And then that's when we get this final showdown with the smile demon and Skye. Morris is like, I'll be right back. He leaves and like doesn't come back. And like they tell us very obviously that this freezer is going to close because they're like, the cinder block needs to be here to prop open the door, because if it's not here, you can't open the freezer from the inside. And we're like, yeah, that's going to happen. It does. But then again, so the smile demon says none of this is real. But wait, none of this is real? So then we get to the end scenes. The end scenes take place in the arena. It's the first night of Skye Riley's comeback tour. And we see in the audience Darius, we see her mom, and we see the assistant who she's been beefing with this whole movie. So her mom is not dead. So that got me thinking, if her mom's not dead, then maybe nothing from the treatment center through the Pizza Hut freezer happened. What if that wasn't real? And Gemma was there the whole time, but in the smile demon fakery, the sequence from the escape from the treatment center to the Pizza Hut freezer, it only convinced her into thinking that Gemma wasn't real, because we don't know the extent of the smile demon's control on reality. If they can make an entire troupe of dancers turn into a kaleidoscope going down her hallway, if they can convince her that she killed her mom without her even realizing it, who's to say they couldn't impersonate Gemma in the smile demon fakery sequence just to mess with Skye Riley even more? I like that theory personally, not just because I came up with it, but it also solves another question I had about Gemma earlier. So if I'm led to believe that Gemma has been fake the whole time, I feel like that kind of disrupts the logic with Gemma interacting with Skye's mom the morning that after she sleeps over and Skye wakes up super late and the mom comes up to the apartment. They have like a little acknowledgement of one another. So if Gemma was fake the whole time, I'm like, did the smile demon project that image of Gemma to the mom as well? I'm just saying, I think there's something there. But let me know if you have other theories. Personally, I like this one. Again, not just because I came up with it, but also on a selfish note, I want the best for Skye Riley. And then for the final showdown with the smile demon on stage, the choice to be focused on the audience the whole time. I'm getting chills again. This movie creeped me out. You know, it's been said, but our imaginations are just so much more equipped to terrify us than filmmakers are sometimes. And I really appreciate the choice to just let us fill in the blanks. I was already at adrenaline level 1,000. I was already so concerned for my girl Skye. I did not need to be subjected to seeing what the smile demon ultimately does to her in her final moments. So fixating on the audience in that final scene is like a blessing and a terrible curse. Well, there you have it. Smile 2 is a certified fresh banger in my book. I really enjoyed this movie. I thought that it was just so effective in its scares. Anything that combines like big horrific, like psychological horror, along with those tiny like body horror elements and that isolation and that paranoia. All of it just works together so well for me. I really enjoyed those types of movies personally, so this one really sang to me. And the music was also really fantastic. As a horror movie lover and a music lover, I just have double the reasons to be excited about what they were able to make with this. She gave it her all and then delivered an EP on top of that. Like, the commitment level is next. Next level commitment. I should have known better. The pop girlies make everything better. And you can totally watch this film independently from the first. It can totally work as a standalone in a similar way to Final Destination or the Saw series, where there's some connective tissue, like a character. In this case, it's Morris, but you could still enjoy them individually. And that's because it's operating as a curse movie, but the curse is personal. The Smile Demon is designed to instigate the deepest, darkest fears of its host. And what is horror if not the opportunity to explore such things? So you are rife with opportunity to just have this demon like find a host, and all different types of people have so many different horrific explorations, and even build out the lore of the Smile Demon even further if you continue on with the character of Morris. But let me know what you thought about Smile 2. If you have any theories about the Smile Demon, or if you thought Gemma was real for part of the movie like I did, let me know. I would love to hear if anyone is on my side with this. But that's all for now. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.